With 5 million boxes of cereal produced every day by Kellogg's, it is almost scary to wonder how this one company managed to destroy its competition and create an army of products. From the sugary crunch of Frosted Flakes to the classic Rice Krispie treats, these cereal and snacks have been a part of our lives since we were barely able to hold a spoon. But behind this familiar name lies a company with dark secrets. Originally, Kellogg's wasn't just about breakfast. It was created by a religious doctor with the mission of getting rid of sexual desires. For over a century, this brand has evolved into one of the main companies running America, but they didn't get there playing by the rules. Behind those happy mascots lies a company that has targeted impressionable children, shaping your eating habits through manipulation and false promises. This is a brand that has exploited trust, a brand that has deceived millions for profits, a brand that used every evil trick in the book. This is how Kellogg's made millions, selling lies. John Kellogg was born into a family that was always fighting. He had frequent health problems as a child, and even though his family had money, it seemed like his future was going nowhere. To make matters worse, his deeply religious parents believed Jesus would be coming back soon, so they thought schooling for him was a waste. Despite this, he taught himself medicine and managed to become a doctor at the Battle Creek Sanitarium, a health resort run by his brother, where their goal was to make patients as healthy as possible. But this is where things started to get strange. While some of Kellogg's medical knowledge came from formal training, much of it was self-taught and heavily influenced by his religious beliefs. He believed that promoting good health was a way to honor God, so he preached the basics: get enough sleep, eat healthy, and exercise. However, none of this solved what he calls the root of all evil: self-pleasure. Kellogg's believed society would be better off without it and tried finding ways to prevent it. He thought that tasty foods led to urges, so he only served bland foods. When that didn't work, he invented a machine that cleansed the bowels with yogurt. But even these methods proved ineffective. As a last resort, Kellogg began performing circumcisions without anesthesia, hoping that the pain would discourage sexual activity. When this also failed, he went as far as blocking off the entire genital area in an attempt to completely rid the problem. During this, Kellogg became like a celebrity health doctor because of his unusual procedures and unusual beliefs, soon becoming a household name. But during the process of trying to cure this deadly sin, Kellogg's accidentally created what was the start of a multi-billion-dollar company. One little accident is now responsible for feeding 1.5 billion people each year. Unfortunately, a lot more trouble, manipulation, and lies has to happen before this empire would ever be built. One day while trying to make granola, something went wrong. Will had accidentally left the batch out overnight, and when they returned to it, the dough had gone stale. Instead of throwing it away, they decided to roll it out, hoping to salvage something usable. And what they discovered was a thin, crispy flake. A texture unlike anything they had ever seen before. They had created a light, crunchy cereal. This accidental creation would soon become the first version of cornflakes, but it'll also be the creation of a dark, brutal rivalry. You see, Dr. John Kellogg wanted to keep cornflakes as a plain healthy option for his patients, a simple food to promote wellness. But his brother, Will Kellogg, saw something entirely different. He saw a product with the potential to make millions. He saw the cornflake as something that will revolutionize the breakfast industry. And he knew it would be a hit. At the time, breakfast wasn't the quick meal we know today. People spent hours preparing foods like porridge, pancakes, and eggs, or they settled for cold leftovers from the night before. Breakfast was a chore, but with cornflakes, it would take less than a minute to pour a bowl of cereal. Will knew this would change everything. He didn't just want to keep it at their sanitarium. He wanted to bring it to every household in America, making it a staple in kitchens everywhere. But Dr. Kellogg's refused. To him, cornflakes were meant for his patients, not the world. So Will made a bold move. He went behind his brother's back and secretly added sugar to the flakes, sweetening them to make them irresistible. But he didn't stop there. Will then took the sugar-coated flakes and sold them to the public, all without Dr. Kellogg's knowledge. In doing so, he wasn't just changing the recipe, he was taking control of the company. Will knew that the added sweetness would attract customers everywhere, especially children who would soon crave that sugary crunch every morning. When John discovered what Will had done, their relationship shattered. Furious that his brother had ruined the health aspect of his food, John tried to stop Will from selling the sugary version, but it was too late. Will had already started his own company, the Battle Creek Toasted Cornflake Company, and began mass producing the sweetened cereal. But the story of Kellogg's doesn't stop at its creation or the fight between the Kellogg's brothers. What followed was a series of dark and unethical marketing tactics that launched the company into massive profit. Will knew that in order to dominate the industry, he needed more than just a good product. He needed to manipulate the minds of his consumers. In order to make cornflakes a success, he had to use the Kellogg's name to his advantage. The name Kellogg's was already popular and associated with health because of his brother's work. By putting Kellogg's on the box, Will knew the cereal would appear like a trusted, health-conscious choice. It was a clever move. It connected the new sweetened product to Dr. Kellogg's established credibility, which meant parents were more likely to buy it, and kids would love it for its sugary taste. But Dr. John Kellogg was furious. Seeing the Kellogg name on Will's cereal felt like a personal betrayal. John was outraged that Will was using his name to market an unhealthy product as if it were health food, taking advantage of John's reputation. Their fight over the name soon turned into a nasty legal battle. Each brother sued the other, each claiming they had the right to the Kellogg name and the profits from cornflakes. This family disagreement turned into a widely publicized legal battle, and the negative attention hurt Dr. John Kellogg's reputation, making him appear more stubborn and less favorable to the public. The law ended up siding with Will, saying it's already a big part of his successful company. Some say the law favored Will because he had created jobs and boosted the economy, but that didn't matter anymore. With his victory, Will renamed the Battle Creek Toasted Cornflake Company to the now famous Kellogg's. After this, Dr. Kellogg's world began to crumble. As Will Kellogg's company grew, John began to fade out. His ideas about health were no longer relevant, and he struggled to keep his sanitarium in business. By the end, John was a shadow of his former self, watching as the cereal he once created became a commercial giant, far from his original vision. Will Kellogg had successfully beat out his brother, and now he aims his sights even further. He now wanted to crush his entire competition, wanting to make Kellogg's the only name that comes to mind when it was time for breakfast. To do this, he ran his business like no other. He slashed the prices of cornflakes so low it was nearly impossible for other cereal makers to keep up. While this tactic made Kellogg's the top-selling breakfast, it also meant that profits were next to nothing. To make up for this, Will had to push his workers to the limit, often paying them low wages and demanding long hours. Will also struck exclusive deals with retailers, ensuring cornflakes were always front and center on their shelves, while blocking other brands from getting a fair shot. His marketing campaigns were clever, but harsh. He used eye-catching ads and slogans that made cornflakes seem like the only choice for a great breakfast. He even had flashy promotions, like giving out free samples and using celebrity endorsements to convince everyone that cornflakes were the best and only option. While this strategy built a powerful cereal empire and reshaped the industry, it came at a cost. The never-ending pressure to win resulted in a harsh environment for his workers and created an industry where only the strongest, sometimes the most ruthless, could ever survive. During this rise of Kellogg's, Dr. John was facing the end of his life, dying at age 91. But before his passing, he had wrote a letter to his brother. Although what was said isn't exactly clear, it said something like this: Will, as I face the end of my journey, I am troubled by the conflicts that have hurt our relationship. I deeply regret not telling you sooner how much I admired your ambition and drive, even if we did disagree. The distance between us has weighed heavily on me, and I wish we had found a way to resolve our differences before it was too late. I hope you can forgive me for my part in our troubles, and that our legacy will stand as proof of what we built together despite our challenges. John. Will was supposed to receive this letter while John was still alive, but for some reason it never reached him. He read it only after John's death, meaning they were never able to forgive each other. At the age of 83, Will stayed as CEO of Kellogg's and continued taking charge until his late death, also at the age of 91. Will Kellogg never trusted a single person to take over his business. Instead, he left it in the hands of a group of people. A group that would soon transform the company from $60 million a year to a mind-blowing $15 billion. But this success didn't come from playing by the rules. No, exploiting workers and lying to their customers is just the beginning of what they were willing to do to make sure the business did not only just survive, but dominated. Mascots, the easiest way to manipulate kids. Bright colors, friendly faces, and catchy slogans, all carefully designed to trap young minds. These are not just harmless cartoons, they're powerful tools to create brand loyalty before kids even know what they're buying. In the 1930s, Kellogg's introduced Snap, Crackle, and Pop for Rice Krispies. These three mischievous elves were more than just fun characters. They were designed to capture children's imaginations with their playful moods and the popping sounds of their cereal. Their presence made breakfast seem like a magical experience, hooking kids with the idea that their morning meal was full of fun and excitement. It wasn't just about selling cereal. It was about making kids feel that their breakfast was an adventure, making them want to come back for more. Then in the 1950s, Tony the Tiger came onto the scene for Frosted Flakes. With his muscular build and enthusiastic catchphrase, Tony was created to make kids feel strong and unstoppable. This marketing didn't just sell a product, it sold a dream of power and energy. By associating Frosted Flakes with athletic power and confidence, Tony the Tiger manipulated children into believing that eating this cereal would turn them into champions. Cornelius Rooster followed for cornflakes in the 1950s as well. This calm and simple mascot symbolized a fresh start to the day. Cornelius showed a sense of wholesomeness and simplicity, offering children and parents a reassuring, straightforward breakfast. Kellogg's used this friendly rooster to evoke feelings of trust and dependability, making cornflakes the go-to choice for a healthy start. Although this cereal isn't the most eye-catching, it is simple and effective at targeting people who valued health and routine. By creating mascots each crafted for a different group of kids, Kellogg's made sure that no matter how a child felt, there was a mascot that felt just like them, ensuring that every child found an emotional connection, making it nearly impossible to escape the grip of Kellogg's marketing. This strategic manipulation had nothing to do with cereal. It was about creating an army of loyal young minds, where they would trust Kellogg's cereal for their own kids, trapping not only their hearts, but their wallets for generations to come. The manipulation didn't end there. Kellogg's took things a step further with an evil tactic called price fixing. Kellogg secretly teamed up with other cereal companies like General Mills, Post, and Quaker Oats, and they agreed to all raise prices together. Kellogg's and its competitors made sure that no matter which cereal you chose, you'd be paying a higher price. Imagine walking down the cereal aisle hoping to find a good deal, but every box from Frosted Flakes to Cheerios was suddenly more expensive. If Kellogg's had raised their prices alone, people might have just switched to another brand. But with every major cereal company in on the plan, there was nowhere else to turn. Families who relied on this cereal were trapped because all the options were just as costly. The familiar, trusted brands were now exploiting that trust, making sure that they got more money out of every single box. They did it for profit, to make sure their earnings kept climbing, even if it meant squeezing more out of their customers. And yes, their profits did rise, but at what cost? Was it really right to deceive the very people who had been loyal to them for years? The profits they gained came with a heavy moral price, one that left many wondering just how far Kellogg's would go to make an extra dollar. In the 1980s, Kellogg's angered many when they created an ad campaign that used indigenous people to sell cereal. Kellogg's rolled out a cartoon character named Chief Crispy. With exaggerated features and behaviors, this mascot wasn't just a cartoon, it was mocking an entire culture. For Kellogg's, it was just another way to grab attention, but for the communities they disrespected, it was another painful reminder of how easily their heritage could be exploited. Kellogg soon realized the damage they had caused and quickly removed Chief Crispy from everywhere, with no public apology to this day. But the tricks didn't end with offensive mascots. Kellogg's also mastered the art of using words like wholesome and natural to make their cereals seem healthier than they actually were. These words were chosen not for their truth, but for money. They sounded good. They sounded reassuring. Yet these words legally hold no actual meaning. It did not guarantee quality or nutrition. By using these comforting, misleading labels, they sold a cereal of health and goodness, but that couldn't have been farther from the truth. They didn't care that their cereal were far from healthy. They only cared about making the sale, even if it meant leaving consumers to buy into a lie. The worst part is, people are still falling for it to this day. Since the creation of cornflakes, Kellogg's has been a company determined to win, no matter the cost. From the battle between a strange religious doctor and a driven businessman, to using mascots to manipulate kids and breaking the public's trust by fixing prices, Kellogg's is a master at manipulating people into buying their product. But is it fair to see them in such a negative way? When you look into the history of any business, you're bound to find some shady actions. Because in business, success often comes with tough, sometimes ruthless decisions. Kellogg's story isn't all dark. The company has done amazing things over the years. They have helped farmers grow food in a more sustainable way, making sure that future generations have something to eat. Through programs like Kellogg's Better Days, they've donated millions of meals to families in need, fighting hunger all around the globe. They've worked to make their cereals healthier by cutting down on sugar and adding more whole grains. Kellogg's has also invested heavily in education, giving out scholarships and supporting school breakfast programs to make sure every kid has something to eat. Yet with all the good they've done, a question arises. Can a company's positive actions erase its darker actions? Can the good they do now cancel out the bad they've done in the past? Perhaps that's a question not only for Kellogg's to answer, but for each and every one of us. Can we balance our own mistakes with the good we try to do? And if so, which side is winning? But one thing is for certain. If this good and bad scale is true, Coca-Cola would have to do a lot of good to cancel out the bad things they have done. Watch this next video to uncover their full truth.